You are watching FMBN Podcast here on 7FM TV, proudly brought to you by the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. You are so welcome to this week's edition. On FMBN Podcast, we beam our searchlights on the activities, events, and happenings at the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria in order to keep citizens like you and I informed with all the workings, products, and services that Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria offers. So let me remind you again that this program comes up here on 7FM TV every week with housing facts, exclusive interviews, commentaries, news, and many more that's bother around affordable housing in Nigeria. I am your host, Patience Okai. Let's go on a quick break. We'll be right back.
The latest couple in town.
Good day, sir.
How are you? Oh, sit down.
Thank you, sir.
Drinks?
No, we're fine, sir.
How was the moon experience?
It was quite an experience.
How about house?
We are renting at the moment, but we intend to save enough to own our own house, right?
Why not avoid all those Shylock landlords and own a house upfront? With the average income and cost of building houses today in Nigeria, mortgage is the best option. No sweat. I tell you what, that was how I got my first house, and I've never regretted it.
To make good homes, and by implication, a good society, an individual is expected to have an abode from which to take off and return at the end of each day. At the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, everyone deserves a home. Come join us at FMBN and let's shelter Nigeria together.
All right, welcome back to FMBN Podcast here on 7FM TV, proudly brought to you by the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. Now, the housing facts. People are asking this particular question: can your pension contribution be used as personal stake? Of course, we have an answer for that, so watch this.
Yes, the National Pension Commission recently approved that retirement savings account holders can utilize up to 25% of their total contributions to pay equity on their residential mortgage.
Good to know you are still with us here on FMBN Podcast, brought to you by the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. Okay, so Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria went out for awareness and sensitization at UTC Area 10. Watch the outcome.
Occupancy can be used as a title document on the condition that the owner will submit the evidence of processing the certificate of occupancy and the undertaking that the certificate of occupancy will be deposited in the bank when it is obtained.
The awareness, which is usually on quarterly basis, is the third for the year. While addressing the residents, the branch manager FCT1 of the bank, Mr. Abdulaziz Abubakar, spoke on the need of the action.
It is a well-known fact that informal sector form at least, in fact, more than 70% of the Nigerian working population. And what we have noticed is that this subsector of Nigerian economy are underrepresented in the National Housing Fund. So we came to sensitize them on the benefit of the scheme and to let them know that the scheme is not only limited to Nigerian workers alone, those in the formal sector, but equally to those in informal sector is for all Nigerians.
Speaking further, the unit head, Mrs. Mercy Dominic, also spoke on the need for the awareness.
The formal sector is huge, and then we are trying to catch on those informal sector workers to join the National Housing Fund scheme. So we are creating awareness today in Area 10, particularly UTC and the Mock Plaza, and we will enlighten them on the benefits of the National Housing Fund and how they can join the scheme.
Some of the residents were not left behind as they expressed enthusiasm and appreciation to FMBN.
Okay, what I was told is that you people are into mortgage, that if I can get a house anywhere, that you people are ready to assist me based on my contribution, that you open account with you people.
Okay, so is this the first time you're hearing about the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria?
It's not the first time. Even I have a friend that already gotten a house in airport through the Federal Mortgage.
Whoa, you have a friend?
Yes.
So
this is not the first time, but this one looks authentic.
Okay, this looks authentic.
It came to our doorstep. You can see this is where we work. Wow. You understand? So this looks authentic to me. I don't really believe before, but with what I'm seeing here and the awareness outside and by sharing of these flyers, it shows that this looks authentic, and we look forward to it.
The awareness ended up in appreciation as the bank expressed satisfaction at the turnout and in response, while residents were happy for the information brought to their doorsteps.
Good to know you are still with us here on FMBN Podcast here on 7FM TV, proudly brought to you by the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. Let's join the conversation with 7FM TV correspondent Austin Sinum with the Group Head Strategy and Performance Management, Mr. Oladapo Fakeye, still talking more on the strategy and performance of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria.
Let me ask you, you talked about demand and supply,
yes,
right, as part of the models that are put in place. What is the level of demand for Nigerians? Of course, housing is something that is a necessity,
yes,
a basic need of life,
yes.
I mean, a shelter. So what is the level of demand? I mean, coming from the side of Nigerians, demand for the houses, what is the level of demand? And how is it commensurate with the supply?
For Nigeria, as a developing economy, I think one of the challenges we're facing is the fact that formal housing demand or demand for formal housing far outstrips the supply of formal housing. And I'm using the terminology or the specification formal, okay, because all Nigerians, all households in the country, one way or the other, are housed. But a lot are housed probably in informal settings. So you have slums, or you have people living in within cities, living in areas in which they just occupied a piece of land and then they just built haphazard structures just to stay. So we have those kinds of housing which are not formalized, which are not the regular kind of housing. So it's a challenge that we have as a developing economy, that you always have housing demand outstripping housing supply. There are no ready statistics around how much of those demand that we do have, but probably if we look at, we can verify the number of households in Nigeria. I understand we have about 11 million houses which are formal in the country. For a country with a population of 200 million, probably for 40,000 households, we can start to have a guesstimate, so to speak, the fact that, look, if we only have about 11 million houses, or probably 40 million households, I mean, it could give an estimate of probably where we do have those gaps.
Okay, let me bring you back. Back to 2019.
Okay.
The Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, in a bid to strengthen its market position, optimize internal business processes. All right. Then they also develop innovative housing product on the back of a sound strategic action plan and a thorough understanding of current trend in the local and global housing mortgage industry. Then, as part of the move, also they entered into a partnership with KPMG, that's the Cleveland Pitt Mavic Godilla. Yes, the Cleveland Mavic Godilla, all right, to develop a 5-year strategic plan for the bank. Can you tell us, just give us an overview of the FMBN 5-year strategic plan and why the plan? The reason behind setting up that plan.
All right, thank you very much. As I mentioned earlier, for any organization, even for nations, okay, even for individuals, as it were, organizations need strategies, because it's a strategy will define what you want to achieve, both short term or even the long term, and it will define the steps you need to take to achieve those objectives. So for us as an institution, we had to come up with a strategy sometime around 2019. It was actually approved in 2020, 2020. But we worked in partnership with KPMG because we needed the international recognition, the international experience, and the knowledge that a consultancy firm like the KPMG will bring to bear. The KPMG is a global brand, and we needed to have that insight and that to leverage on their knowledge as well. So what we have today is a 5-year strategy which kicked off in 2020 and has been running. The idea is to position Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria to be the premier mortgage institution in the country. In fact, the vision that we developed under the strategy blueprint is to be the preferred mortgage institution, providing reliable and affordable access to home ownership for Nigerians. So the idea is for FMBN to reposition itself to be that premier mortgage institution that is preferred amongst all others, recognizing that there are a number of institutions addressing the market, but we seek to be the premier institution regarding that. So the whole point is, how do we look internally and externally, and then make those changes and put in place those structures that will help us to achieve that. So under the strategy blueprint, we have 6 pillars, which is to deepen mortgage penetration. We want to enhance the experience that our customers are having regarding our services. We're looking at improving our brand as an institution. FMBN is known nationwide, but want to see to improve on that. And of course, we're looking at also diversifying our funding sources apart from the National Housing Fund itself. We are part of the strategy pillars we have is also ensure operational excellence, that we provide the best in terms of excellence in terms of the operations that will service the needs of our customers, and of course looking at the manpower, which is the most critical resource for any institution, to see how we can develop teamwork and ensure that we have high-performing teams within the bank.
All right, that was an exclusive interview with the Group Head Strategy and Performance Management Office, Mr. Oladapo Fakeye. Thank you very much. You are still on to the program FMBN Podcast. Let's quickly go on a short break. We'll be right back.
One, two. What? Stop! No, people. Don't go back our system.
Sorry, comrade. As an up-to-date contributor of the National Housing Fund, I will advise you to just apply straight away for a mortgage loan. Yes, there are several types you could apply for. There is the rent to own a home loan. There is the cooperative loan. There are several of them. Instead of paying so much money to these Shylock landlords.
At the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, everyone deserves a home.
All right, welcome back to FMBN Podcast here on 7FM TV, proudly brought to you by the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. Let's bring you FMBN news this week. And that's all we have for you on this week's edition of FMBN Podcast. Do join us next week for another educative edition of the program. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media handles displayed on your screen at Instagram 7TV_NIG, at Twitter 7TV_NIG, Facebook 7TV Nigeria, at YouTube 7FM-TV. You can also visit our website at www.7media.ng, and do well to visit www.fmbn.gov.ng FMBN.ng for more information. Until I, Patience Okai, your host, come your way next week. Stay blessed. Bye.